I know I am horrifically late when it comes to talking about this subject, but I've just been fucking backlogged with college work for the past few weeks, and as a result, for the past few weeks, I haven't really been paying much attention to current events. Sue me. But since Jordan Neely's killer was charged with manslaughter the other day, I think it's still worth it to talk about this subject. But anyways, for those of you who need a refresher, Jordan Neely was a 30-year-old man who lived right here in New York City. He was best known for his Michael Jackson impersonations that he would do on the street and in subways. Then, on May 1st, while on the Manhattan F train, Neely had a mental health crisis, where he shouted that he was hungry, thirsty, tired, and he didn't care if he died or went to jail. This then prompted Daniel Penny, a 24-year-old Marine veteran, to lock him in a chokehold for 15 minutes, which resulted in Neely's death. And I've seen so many conservatives scramble to justify this. He was a potential threat to the passengers on that train. I'm sorry, nothing he did on that train warranted him dying. If Daniel Penny really felt that he was a threat, he could have subdued him by doing various other things, like, for example, keeping his arms behind his back. I understand wanting to neutralize a potential threat. Maybe he would have assaulted some passengers on that train. But again, he did not deserve to fucking die. The way you respond should be comparable to how much of a threat someone is posing. And at that current point in time, all Jordan Neely was doing was saying some vague words about not caring that he went to jail. That could have been a threat, sure, and again, I understand wanting to neutralize the situation before it could potentially escalate, but locking him in a fucking chokehold for 15 goddamn minutes, that's not just simply subduing someone. You have to be aware at that point that you are using lethal force against someone who did nothing at that current point in time to justify said lethal force being used. And I've seen conservatives on Twitter sharing around videos that they claim are of him, where he punches people in the face, throws people around. Keep in mind, a lot of these videos are not of him, they're of completely different people that have nothing to do with Jordan Neely. The one good thing about Elon's Twitter is that little context bubble, and under a lot of these fake videos, there is that bubble clarifying that these videos are not of Jordan Neely. But there is one video circulating around that is supposedly of Neely, where he's exhibiting violent behavior towards a person, shouting homophobic slurs towards them on a street, and so many conservatives are saying, this is the new darling of the left, is this really someone you want to defend? They're essentially trying to make the argument that Jordan Neely was no angel, just like they did with George Floyd, Dante Wright, and a lot of these other black people who were killed unjustly. One, if you watch that video, that person filming was clearly harassing Neely. Neely didn't appreciate having a camera shoved in his fucking face, and even warned the guy before attacking him to back away. I may not agree with attacking the guy and throwing homophobic slurs his way, but still, the guy was a fucking idiot for continuing to escalate the situation, even after being warned. Two, no shit, he wasn't an angel. No one in this planet is a fucking angel. If that person in that one video really was Neely, then it doesn't fucking change shit in my mind, because I still stand firm in the belief that what he did right before he died did not justify him being locked in a chokehold for 15 minutes. I hate this fucking straw man argument conservatives throw every single time a black person is unjustly murdered. No one is claiming that these people were perfect angels throughout their lives. And showing me a video that's supposedly of him being violent and saying homophobic slurs doesn't make me all of a sudden think, oh, this changes everything. He did deserve to die. If that actually was him in that video, I don't condone that behavior. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who was outraged over his death to condone that behavior. But you're still not going to get me, or anyone else who was outraged over his death, to all of a sudden not think that his murder was unjust. What he needed was professional mental help. not a deadly chokehold. Neely was a homeless man who didn't have access to any type of health care, and his death is the byproduct of the constant dehumanization of both the homeless and the mentally ill. We're so quick to write off the homeless as junkies, crazy people. They must have been some type of fuck up to end up on the streets. Maybe if we had more empathy for these people and made sure they had adequate resources to receive the help they need, perhaps we wouldn't be seeing instances such as what happened with Jordan Neely. Because what good does banishing them to the streets do? You're just leaving them to fucking rot and allow them to get worse and worse. New York just gets more and more expensive to live in. Meanwhile, so many people in the state are left in the lurch without access to basic necessities such as health care. Here are some findings from a statewide survey conducted in March of 2022 titled How New Yorkers Feel About Affordability and Healthcare Reform. Half of New Yorkers, 53%, say they aren't very confident they can pay for usual healthcare services. 4 in 10 New Yorkers, 38%, say they or a family member are sacrificing healthcare because of costs. These sacrifices include delaying going to a doctor, 19%, skipping a recommended test or treatment, 15%, avoiding going to a doctor altogether, 14%, and not filling prescriptions, 12%. 31% of New Yorkers have appealed or questioned a healthcare bill. 1 in 5, 20%, have paid a healthcare bill they thought was wrong out of fear of being sued or harassed for not paying. 1/3 of New Yorkers, 34%, have faced financial hardship as a result of medical bills. This includes being contacted by a collection agency, 16%, being unable to pay for basic necessities, 13%, and using up their savings, 11%. There are even more findings in this survey that I'll link in the description, but I think I made my point very clear. This country does not give a single shit about the well-being of its citizens, and if you really think that the homeless and the mentally ill are a problem, then you should be demanding that they receive the help that they need instead of dehumanizing them further, because the latter solves absolutely fucking nothing. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.